All right. Good evening, everybody. It is August 22nd, 2021. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. I want to welcome you to tonight's show. We're back on Sunday nights, though, this might change because, I was originally going to postpone tonight's show until Wednesday because as I mentioned last week, we have a lot of events and concerts going on in various parks in, Bergen County on Sunday nights. So I wanted to reserve my Sunday nights for those events. But, because of Hurricane Henry, it is raining tonight. So all the events that were going to happen tonight, like the concert in the park and whatever, they were all canceled. So I decided to have this show on again tonight. But going forward, I think, I'll keep you guys posted on when this show will happen. But I want to thank you all for joining us. So my campaign is kicking ahead in full steam. Last week, I was happy to join the Fairlawn GOP Club for their first in-person meeting since this pandemic, hit us over 1 year ago. So it was so nice to actually see everybody in person as opposed to just a little tiny box in a virtual meeting. So that was on, I believe, Thursday of last week. And then, this morning I was very happy to join the Legislative District 36 team here in Jersey for their breakfast fundraiser. It was an all-you-can-eat pancake and eggs and sausage feast, and it was delicious. It was cooked by the candidates who are running. So Chris and Craig and Joe Vizo, they're running for state senate, for state assembly up in 36th district. So it was a great event. There was a great turnout, and they sure can cook. All right, on tonight's show, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Edward P. Durfee Jr. He is running, he's the GOP nominee for New Jersey State Assembly in District 37. I believe a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, we had his running mate on my show, Mr. Mike Kuntz. He's running for State Senate in District 37. So we had Mike on. Now tonight we have Edward on, and I'm sure in the near future we will also have their third running mate on, Mr. Parler Patrick. All right. So without further ado, let us bring on Mr. Ed Durfee. Hey Ed, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Ron. Thanks for having me on.
Sure, and thanks for coming on. So Edward Durfee, you are running for. Well, you're the official GOP nominee for Legislative District 37 for State Assembly. Is this your first go at politics?
It's my first go at state politics. I've been involved in Bergen County politics since 2008, I suppose, and municipal chair in Northvale and ran for local councilman in Northvale. But this is my first go at a state position.
Okay. So, Ed Durfee, why don't you give us a little rundown on who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Well, pretty much lived in Bergen County for 50-some, well, actually, I guess 60-some years now. Dad's from Tenafly, and I grew up right here, mostly in Bergen County, some in Rockland. Been a resident of Northvale since 1983. 2 children, married with 2 children. Both my children went through Northern Valley High School, and have my roots here in Northvale. My son moved into town, and so we're not going anywhere. And I've seen the political climate here in North Jersey, as well as in New Jersey itself, seems to be really heating up with the overtaxation and the overburdens that are being put onto our fellow residents. So I said, you know what, let me throw my hat into the fray and see where we can go with it. It's, we need to hold the cap on this spending, and I consider myself to be pretty fiscally conservative, and hope to be able to bring that to the State House.
Great. Now, Ed, what do you do for your
I'm an IT contractor. I'm employed IT contractor. I've been in IT since 1980.
Okay. And actually, you were a Marine Corps veteran, right? So,
yes, Marine Corps veteran. Vietnam era, I was not boots on the ground. I'm not a combat veteran.
Okay, but still, thank you for your service. And we'll talk about the debacle that's going on in Afghanistan, in like a little bit. But okay, so you're a veteran. You're an IT computer guy, so you're very good with computers and electronics, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And on top of that, you are the current GOP Muni Chair in Northvale, and you're also a member of the county committee. I believe you said that you're also highly active in the Knights of Columbus, right?
Yes, I'm an active member of my council, and I'm also a fourth degree assembly member.
Okay. What
I'm
does that
also a
mean?
Eucharistic minister in my church, as
Right.
well as elector.
Okay, great. Wow. So you wear many, many hats. So Ed, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your campaign and what you and your what are the major issues that you and your running mates want to focus on in District 37?
Well, we're very concerned about the amount of unemployment that is in our district. It's been under 50 plus years of control by the other side, the Democratic control, as you might want to say. They've been in control forever, and it just seems like we have high unemployment. We have a lot of citizens that are living under the poverty level. And this is Bergen County, New Jersey. I mean, we have a lot of homeless that are in our district. And some of them are picked up by the church and the county, and others aren't. So it's our concern is to lower the taxation, to increase the housing, to provide one of our I guess you could say one of our keynotes is going to be in our district. We're going to be the checkpoint between the businesses and the people in the district, so if they're looking for employment, so we can bring employers and employees together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we actually have a comment here.
Sorry.
Yeah, we've got a comment here from Nicholas Newsom. He's a friend of mine from law school, and he actually lives in California. So he's saying that unemployment is a huge issue. Yeah, and
sure.
I think especially in a state like California, right? It's interesting.
Well, I'm really, I can't speak for California. I can only speak for here in New Jersey, and they continue to continue with this, these extra funds and people that were making, the low minimum wage that a lot of our companies want to provide here because they have low skilled workers. They're making more money with the government gratuity than they are with working. So I guess anybody that's in that stream would have to say, well, do I really want to work? I make more money here. Yeah. But I have to tell you that they have to remember that at the end of the year, they're going to be responsible for those taxes. Right. They are tax-paying members of our society.
And so also, it's interesting to note that that those funds are going to be ending soon, right? I believe on September 4th.
I believe September, unless they come back to committee and right. They reinstate it.
But in California, and I read about this, the governor there, Gavin Newsom, they recently he signed into law basically like another stimulus check that's going to be given out to California residents. I believe it's for like $600. And if Nick is still watching, perhaps he can give us more information about that. But yeah, so basically in California, they're giving the people there like a fourth stimulus check, right?
Yeah. Well, again, I can't speak for California. I can only speak for the people that I've spoken to here in New Jersey, and they're like,
So unemployment is one of the big issues that you want to focus on. What are some of the other issues that you and your running mates?
Well, right now we have a major issue here in the state with we've just recently signed into law, not we, but our elected officials have set up the Department of Motor Vehicles as an alleyway for people that are actually in the sanctuary state of New Jersey to get these real IDs and actually driver's licenses. And what it's done, it's overwhelmed our DMV system, and we have people that are buying new cars that can't even register their titles unless they happen to go through a dealership, which I guess has some inroads in the back, as you know. But if you're just a regular person like myself, or anybody that buys a car or needs a new registration or any type of service, you have to call up and get an appointment, and those appointments are now flooded with all the people trying to get these in-state. I guess they're only for in-state. I'm not even totally 100% on board with what exactly they're getting.
Right.
I know they're probably being signed up as Democrats because that's what they normally do. There, just check this box. I just remind anybody that is a Democrat that is listening to this, just because you signed up as a Democrat does not mean you have to vote as a Democrat. You need to really vote for the person and for the voice that they're going to bring for you. And one of the reasons why I'm running is to be the voice for the people, to bring the not the party's message, but to bring the voice of the people. The liberty. We have we're losing our liberties every day, and it's just slipping away, and soon we might even be on the precipice of losing our republic, and it's not going to be pretty. So that's another reason why I stepped in to protect my grandchildren from what may be coming.
Okay, we have another comment from Nicholas Newsom. I would rather see more pro-business efforts nationwide. Pro-businesses who take care of employees makes the most sense. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If you're a common sense kind of person, that is the kind of policy that you would rather see, right? Because when you help the business, you're actually helping everybody. Whereas if you
unfortunately in New Jersey, our business climate is shattered right now.
Yeah.
Now they've just signed into law the new unemployment or the new employment tax increase, which is going to cost us more out of our pocket, as well as more in our towns, more taxes that we're responsible for as citizens in New Jersey. So these are the things that go on in the background that you don't hear about until they're done, and that transparency has to change. And that's the reason it's like that, is because we have this democratic rule that a democratic governor, Democratic Senate, Democratic Assembly, and they do as they please. And hopefully we as Americans are going to wake up, we as New Jerseyans are going to wake up and maybe use this election as an opportunity to put some more balance into our government.
Right.
We are self-governed, and we need to remember that. We are responsible for our government. We can't sit back and say, oh, I don't like what they're doing. We're the ones that are supposed to be telling them what to do. Yeah. And unfortunately, your voice isn't being carried by your current leadership in District 37, especially.
Okay. Now, District 37 covers there's a whole swath of towns, right?
Yeah.
There are 13 towns, right?
Yeah, I don't have my placard to show you how our 37 district looks like Delaware. If you think about Delaware looks as a state, that's how 37 looks. It farthest north is Northvale, where I'm from. And the farthest south is Powell Park, Leonia. They border on the bottom with Fort Lee and Englewood Cliffs, Hackensack, Teaneck, Tenafly, Cresskill, Alpine, Rockley.
Those towns that you just mentioned, Fort Lee, Englewood, Teaneck, these are very heavily Democratic towns, right? And actually, District 37 as a whole is a pretty Democratic district, right? So.
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
So what are you and your running mates going to do to try to cut into that and hopefully, overtake that and, win over the, district?
Well, we're going to be bringing the message of personal responsibility and liberty. And if you just continue to vote for the same old, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the same old leadership. You're not going to get anything new out of what you have. What you have is what you got. And it's not going to change. If you're happy with living under the poverty level on some subsistence from the government and not having any opportunity for jobs because your legislatures are more worried about some social justice warrior issues, that perhaps it's time for a change. And that's a change that we bring. We bring a change of conservativeness. We bring a change of personal responsibility, of less government, fiscal responsibility, more importantly, right here in the state.
Well, District 37, it's been controlled by Democrats for how many terms now? I believe the current state senator there, Weinberg, she is retiring, right? So Gordon Johnson is going to be elevated. He's running for state senate, right? So it's been in Democratic hands for the past, do you know how many terms?
I think, it's 50 some year. I don't know if it's 50 or if it's 52 or if it's 50.
Right. So for over for over half a century, it's been in Democratic hands, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Now,
I used to live in 39, and then we got gerrymandered into 37 in
right.
2010.
Now I know that you and your running mates, you guys are very, very active. You guys have been on the ground. You guys have been holding meetings and sessions with voters, and you guys have been doing a lot. Is there any indication that you're getting from the voters that you meet that they are tired of the same old, same old?
I'd say yes. I'd say yes. We hear that out there. We hear people saying, "Oh, we're glad you're running. We're glad to see that there's actually somebody that we could take a chance to vote for." The thing is that that's what it is. When you've been handed the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, because there's never been any strong candidates to oppose these Democrats, and now we're here. And this is the opportunity. The time is now. The time is now for you, as a citizen here in District 37, to take back your government, right? Because it's run out of control. And if you want a real voice, then you vote for the contract with 37 team. And that's why we called it a contract with 37.
Right. Let me throw that up there. Yeah, your website with your running mates is contractwith37.org, right?
That's correct.
I checked out your website. It's a very thorough, great website. There's got a lot of information there. Right. It's got a lot of resources. So, and it talks about your bio of all three of you, and it's really a great website. So if you guys are watching, I would suggest that you go and check it out, because your website is actually chock full of the issues, right? It's very substantive. So you go to your website and you can learn a lot.
Yeah, we're telling you what we want to do.
Right.
We're not telling you. I mean, there's a little bit about who we are, which is important. I mean, it's good to know, that we're not just some wannabe people that were wandered into the district that said, okay, I'll run. I've been involved in the political fray here in Bergen County Republican Organization, like I said, since 2008. Mike Kuntz, my running mate for Senate, has been involved in politics. I mean, he even ran for governor a few years back. And Parler is also a committeeman from TNEX. Right. So, okay. And we were also all members of a proactive group called Bergen County for Liberty, and we meet on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. And there we try to address the issues and bring a voice to our elected to say, hey, we don't like this. We don't want you to do this. We used to be able to attend the freeholder meetings, and now you have to go on the freeholders on the Zoom in the little boxes, you said.
Right.
I'll be glad to see them open up again, but that's where the money's spent in the county. On the state level, we have to go down there and fight and claw back whatever money we can from the taxpayers. We have an upside down taxation here in New Jersey, and a lot of it has to do with the Abbott districts, that were designed by a judge of all likes, because the legislature refused to take it up and fix it. Same thing with our housing issue here with this fair housing or the Mount Laurel decisions. They allowed the judges to decide what's best for the people. It should be up to us individually in the towns that we live. Yeah. What we want the makeup of our town to be. It shouldn't be decided by judges and contractors that are empowered by these contractor remedy lawsuits that they bring against our towns. So these are all things that need to be fixed. Whether they can be fixed right away is probably not going to, right. They're apparent. It depends on how many people we get down there. If you guys put a lot of us Republicans in and we get a balanced government, there's a chance that we can convince some of the colleagues on the other side of the aisle to say, hey, yeah, let's take a look at this. This isn't right. Why is everybody having to pay all this money? And then you got this new issue with the schools. They want to teach all this, they want to teach that, 1619. All of a sudden, we're no longer 1776, like our country wasn't formed from the revolution of the Tea Party. It was formed from people coming to the Virginia colonies, but they may have been the first ones that were here. But the formation of our country came when we threw off the crown. Right. And if it's continuing the way it's continuing now, we might be faced with that again. I don't know. We have that Declaration of Independence to fall back on.
Yeah, I mean that should be the standard.
Sorry.
No, our Declaration of Independence should be the standard that we used.
Yeah,
That we
I
use
don't
in
even
terms
know
of
if they
like
teach
when
it
our
anymore in
country.
school.
Right.
I think they just touch on it, or it might be a placard on the wall, and we don't know about it. Constitution Day, we used to, I've always wanted to be able to just hand out constitutions on Constitution Day so that people could redress their read what's is our contract with our government, with our governance. That's what it is. People forget that the Constitution empowers the government, not the other way around.
Right.
And we've allowed our government to override our Constitution. Just look at some of the things that are going on now, both in New Jersey with all these executive orders that are being, the masking of demanding the masking of children. I mean, I'm down here at Long Beach Island right now, enjoying the summer holiday with my family, and the beaches are not as full as they used to be, but it's, you talk to the people and they're like, they don't understand what's going on anymore. They just don't see it. And
Okay.
it's that's why we need to get back to our government. We need to get back to being engaging with our government, and not just, we have to go to our town meetings. We have to go to our county meetings. We have to start standing up, go to our school boards and say, no, I don't like this. I don't want this. This is not what we want. Just because you think we want it, or the governor or the Board of the New Jersey State Education Association says this is what we need to teach, we should be able to stand up and say no.
Yeah, and there's actually strength in like numbers, right? I mean, we all remember what happened in the Randolph, right? In Randolph,
Right.
there was a push by the school board to take off the names of all the holidays from the calendar, right? So we can no longer celebrate Thanksgiving Day, Christmas, Columbus Day, like all of them, right? And then a lot of parents and concerned citizens, they showed up. There was a big groundswell, and then they ended up, rescinding that order, right? So I mean,
Right.
your voice matters, right? If enough people show up and complain, well, not complain, just voice their opposition, things can happen. So
sure, or not, complain or otherwise, bring your ideas. I mean, the board's sitting there, they just want to do what we want them to do. They have to remember that we control the switch. Okay, with self-governance. Even though I'm elected, it doesn't give me the power to turn the light on and off. The power to turn the light on and off stays with the voters. And we as voters have forgotten that. And, I don't blame anything on what's going on totally on our government, because, you allow them to do the same thing day in and day out. And what do you get? That insanity. Right. So it's just, it's shameful, because we're not, the people are not, the people are, unfortunately, because of the value of the dollar, which is, really nothing we can do about that in New Jersey, because we don't print the dollars, but we send enough of our dollars to Washington, and we hope to get them back. And, we have our congressman like Mr. Gottheimer. He's more worried about, people running around that are threats to the community versus really looking at focusing on the issue of the dollar. Why are we continuing to print more money and diluting our dollar? Okay, and again, we can't do anything about that in New Jersey, but we could put a check on the spending and stop spending more money, because it's just putting more burden on our children, on our grandchildren.
Yep. We have actually a message here from Scallywag Talks. Greetings from Union Township. So Union Township is not in your district, Ed, right? But
No.
It's good to know that we have people actually all across this state, and actually all across this country watching, right? And I got my good buddy Nick, who's watching from California, nice. And Scallywag Talks, who's watching from Union Township. All right. Now, Ed, there is something that was, some people say it's controversial, right? But and it was reported on, right? In terms of you and your background. So you are actually a member of the Oath Keepers, right?
Yes, sir.
You are a member of the Oath Keepers, and you were actually in Washington D.C. on January 6th, right? During the quote unquote insurrection, right? So
I mean, as I like to call it,
right? Yeah. So I mean, your participation in the Oath Keepers has been paid attention to by the media, right? And I believe a newspaper or two, they've written about that, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Right.
Actually, I offered two reporters that contacted me an opportunity to report on that.
Right.
Okay. And I think they did a fairly balanced job. I didn't get trashed as much as I thought I was going to get trashed, and I was glad to see that they did have some journalistic integrity and held on to the truth. As a member of an Oath Keepers, Oath Keepers is a membership is made up of law enforcement officers, current and former, military, current and former, first responders, anybody that's sworn the oath. I mean, technically, politicians that have sworn the oath to defend our Constitution can join the Oath Keepers, because we all have that common bond, that sacred oath that we've taken to.
Okay, but let me take it back even further, or take it back even back, right? So for all the viewers that are watching, right, who might have heard the term Oath Keepers through the media and through the lens of the media, because the media likes to describe the Oath Keepers as like this domestic terroristic group, right? So in your own words, what are the Oath Keepers? I know who joins the Oath Keepers, right? You were saying that the members of the law enforcement, military, and anyone who wants to uphold the oath of this country are free to join, right? But what exactly?
That's our bond. Our bond that brings us together is the oath that we swore, the sacred oath.
So what exactly, as a group, do the Oath Keepers do?
Well, currently we're defending ourselves as being non-terrorists and non-domestic, whatever they want to call us. Okay, we're not even really defending that as much as probably as we should, but because the truth of the matter is we have a Constitution, and the Constitution stands that, like I said earlier, the Constitution defines our government. It doesn't. It's not the other way around. So what we generally do is we teach the Constitution. We teach classes on how to talk to politicians, how to engage politicians, but more about just reminding people of what the Constitution is and what power that it has for you as a local citizen. We also were engaging in some what we like to call CPT, which is it's community preparedness teams, for emergencies. Like, for instance, we have Hurricane Henri that has been devastating the Northeast here, not so much for North Jersey, thankfully. But when trees come down and power goes out, there's people are stranded in their homes. We're there to help the locals. A lot of us are CERT certified. Myself, I was certified. I'm a certified member of CERT. and not called on as much as I should because of the Oath Keepers, But unfortunately, because of the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ADL that were pushing their stuff, early on, calling us white supremacists and anti-government, and actually even during the Ron Paul era, when we were working with Ron Paul to elect Ron Paul, if you had a Ron Paul sticker on your car, according to the Mizak report out in Missouri, which was garnered by the SPLC, you were a domestic terrorist. You were somebody that had to be looked at because you were, anti-government. See, anybody.
Now, Ed, can I ask you something? Right. So, Ed, when was Oath Keepers started? When was this group founded?
2009. Oath Keepers started in 2009.
2009. So, just to give you a very quick example, I just did a quick Google on Oath Keepers, right? And the definition and the Wikipedia page is the first to pop up. And on the first line, it says Oath Keepers is an American far-right anti-government militia, organization. So let me just ask you about that first line. Is the Oath Keepers, are the Oath Keepers, are they far-right?
No, we're nonpartisan.
Okay. Are the Oath Keepers anti-government?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Is it a militia group?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Militias are formed by the Constitution, the Second Amendment.
Okay. So, I mean, that means that this first line in Wikipedia that pops up from Google, this is completely false, right? You're not far right.
Exactly. And
You're
every
not
time
anti-government.
every time we've attempted to edit that line, it always gets re-edited out. So it becomes this game of cat and mouse that just goes on.
So you're not far. So yeah. So in actuality, let me just explain.
If you go to oathkeepers.org, you can read our code of conduct and you can read our bylaws, and you'll see that we're held to a very high standard within our organization.
Okay, so you're not far right, you're not anti-government, and you're not a militia group.
That's correct.
So I mean, that's what you guys should take away from this interview, guys. I mean, yeah, I mean, the Oath Keepers, they get defined by the media, but that's how they define you guys, right? But I think it's important for you guys to define you guys, right? I mean, and you say that
we're working on some tactic right now to address some of these inequities that have been thrown at us lately, and some of these blatant lies, for lack of a better word. And it's time to hold the media, feet to the fire and allow, if we weren't so pure, I don't believe we'd be getting such attention. Okay, we would not be so worried about us. I mean, we were in D.C. like everybody else. We were in Washington, D.C. for the Save the Steal or Stop the Steal rally that former President Trump was headlining. Some of our guys were there for security inside the ellipse with the president, and others like myself were security on the perimeter, watching out for Antifa and by any means necessary type people that like to just come and disrupt. I was my detail was Asians for Trump, or I don't remember if it was Asians for Trump or Hispanics for Trump. They were concerned about being run over. So we were each other's eyes, and every time
we were there. Actually, you were providing the security for certain groups there, right?
We were the presence more so. Right. We didn't have any right to arrest anybody. We didn't have any.
No, but I mean, like you were providing
our presence there. They knew that we were. By our presence there, they knew that we would be able to bring law enforcement down on them.
Right, because Antifa and these far left groups, right? They like to target, the vulnerable people. Because they see them as easy targets, right? But with you guys there as Oath Keepers, you guys are there, then they're less likely to to try anything, right? Because then they're scared. So
that's true. Yeah, they have. We started patrolling the Trump rallies because these Antifa types were jumping the participants that were going back to their cars. They were attacking them and going after them. As that congresswoman there from California said, get in their face. And
Maxine Waters,
Maxine Waters, right? Maxine Waters telling our constituents that you could stop them by any means necessary. And
oh my gosh, she's a great Nicholas Newsom,
necessary.
Right, and Nick Newsom, my buddy from law school. If you're watching this, you guys ought to do something to get Maxine Waters out of office. She is entrenched, and she's probably the worst of the worst. He's up there with Nancy Pelosi. But yeah, so anyway, these Antifa types, I mean, they talk big, right? And but when push comes to shove, they they usually
they empower smaller groups like the Black Lives Matters that got got overrun by the communists or the Marxists. And I mean, even locally, we went to a school board meeting and they found out I was there. So now right away they're saying the far right is trying to shut down the school board here in Northern Valley. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This is what they do. They spin.
Yeah.
And they've learned to be spin masters. And we in our response, we need to do the same. And we're lacking.
But I mean, I think the vast majority of Americans are getting tired of this spin, right?
Yeah.
Especially, okay, so now let's talk a little bit about Afghanistan, because I know our time is almost up. You've got a busy schedule. But about Afghanistan, as a former military member, what are your thoughts on this whole Afghanistan, debacle that's going on, that's unfolding right before our very eyes?
Well, to be quite frank with you, we had no business being in Afghanistan. Okay, and because we stayed there for so long, it was only inevitable, because you're trying to give something to people that they don't want it. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to bring the Western, outlook to people that are not interested in that. They just, whatever it is, whatever they're taking care of their opium, and they're taking care of their farming and everything there in Afghanistan, and they're not interested in our Western way of doing things. Now we have built up some of the cities over there, as you can see. A lot of people, especially in Kabul, are more and more Western-like. But the reality of it is that our way is not their way, and we probably should have been out of there long before. We
okay. But let me play like a little bit of a.
But if I could just real quick,
okay.
Ronald, the fact that we left without having a plan to get our own people out beforehand is atrocious. It's ungodly. It's to rely on the enemy. This is not a question of the enemy of our enemy as our friend. This is our enemy.
This is the enemy who attacked us. They attacked us.
Yeah, and now it's mixed in with Al Qaeda, and Al Qaeda is, there's even talk of Al Qaeda infiltrating some of the Afghanis there, and they're going to make their way into our country. I even understand that Russia doesn't even want anything to do with it, because they won't want these people to come in. And the other side of it is that it's a debacle that's it's like a Vietnam. When we left all our equipment there. I mean, if you're going to pull out, you don't leave all your equipment behind for them to use against you. So now it's a mess. It's a mess, and I'm personally, it's not a state issue. It's going to be a state issue when they start to bring the Afghanis here. As a former military person, I'm aghast at how it went down, to be quite honest with you. I'm not a former combat, so my take or my words on it is probably not as powerful as my colleagues in 36 that were just in Iraq and boots on the ground in Afghanistan. Yep. They probably have a better word.
Chris and Craig Oriama, who had their breakfast fundraiser today, and they're running
for Craig and Chris. They were both.
They were in the U.S. Army. They were actually in Afghanistan, right?
Correct.
So I mean, I think they would have a lot more to say about this, and I'm interested to hear their take. But but going to your point about we kind of imposed our Western way of life on a group of people who didn't want it. But to play like a devil's advocate, what do you say to the millions of women there who actually had a chance at an education and at like a freer life under Western rule, that's now all of a sudden being taken away again? I mean,
I say that those women need to find their way out, or their voice is not going to be heard. I don't want to empathize with them or sympathize with them, but I mean, the women that got their voice back and they were being unmasked and didn't have to walk around covered due to Sharia law. But most of the that culture is Islamic. So you're dealing with the religious. It would be like if you were to come to my church, my Catholic church, and tell me that I can't kneel when I'm being told when to kneel or when to stand. It's just not right. It's not right. What I say to the women though is pray. Pray for the change, and
I read an article the other day.
It's not going to come by violence. Let's take it out.
I read in an article a couple of days ago that in Afghanistan, since the Taliban has taken over, like a woman was shot dead on the streets because she wasn't wearing her.
She wasn't wearing her covers, right?
Right.
She didn't have her shawl on or whatever they call it.
And then for the Biden administration to say, "Oh, we're gonna trust the Taliban to help our citizens come home," isn't that like ludicrous?
Yeah. That's like if it's It's, it's, like, it's like I've been fighting with you for the last 20 years, and now we want to that way. Just be nice and let our people come home. And no, you're
Like
going to
at
see
this
that.
point,
You're going to see
they
them
have all the
capture.
leverage. Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, the Taliban, they have all the excuse my language. They have all the leverage, right? They have all the leverage.
Exactly.
They have our materials, they have our equipment, our guns, our ammo,
Right.
and
This
our
is going to
citizens
be
there.
This is going to be Biden's Benghazi. Not
Right.
to put any shade on Benghazi, but Hillary lied and 4 died. Okay, and now Biden lied, and who knows how many are going to die, and who knows how many are going to show up in propaganda films and being held, and just disgrace, more disgrace for, more disrespect for our country. It's bad enough that they allowed them to burn our flag over there and to trample some of the things that they did, and now. And now for us to have to rely on our enemy to safe passage for our people is ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's not my commander in chief. Let's put it that way.
It's certainly a horrendous situation that's going on. And for all the people, for all the U.S. citizens, for everyone that's still stuck in Afghanistan now, I think the prayers of the world are with you. But of course, prayers is one thing, right?
Right.
We also need our leader. We also need our leaders in government to actually do their jobs and protect our citizens and bring them back home.
Absolutely. They should be. They should be having. They should have rally points behind the, back in before you get to Kabul airport, because I understand that the Taliban have already closed off all the roads, and they have checkpoints, and those checkpoints aren't to keep their own people in. It's to keep the Americans segregated, so they can use them for their propaganda films, guaranteed. And so we should have rally points, on the interior of the country with our choppers. So we already saw 3 choppers the other day, went and rescued some people. But we should see more of those rescue missions.
Yeah.
Asking for commercial airlines to move people is not the answer. You got to get them to, you have to get them out. Everybody's going to Kabul, so they close off Kabul. What is that going to do?
All right.
If you think about it.
Okay. Well, Mr. Ed Durfee, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been an interesting talk, and we're very excited about your campaign. I think you have a lot to offer. I think you will make a great assemblyman, you and your ticket, and we're just very happy and excited for your campaign. And so good luck.
Thank you. And again, just that message to anybody that's going to hear this later, whether you're an independent or a Democrat, vote for the person or the party, that's going to bring your voice to Trenton. If you continue to vote the same as you've been voting the last 50 years, you're going to get the same, and you see what you've got. I mean, we had our assemblymen and assemblywoman Huddle, who was fighting with Mr. Johnson to get the leadership role to be senator, and now she's no longer even on the ticket. I'm sure she's still in the background somewhere, but the reality of it is that this Democratic control of our district has given the district very little.
Oh, is that true? Is Valerie Huddle no longer on the actual ticket itself for assembly?
No. Valerie lost her slot because she went for Senate, and
that's right. Yes, she resigned.
Yeah,
okay.
Johnson with his team of Park and Hader or whatever, and.
Okay. Well, that's
if you want Marxist rule to continue in New Jersey, don't vote for me, because I'm not going down there to bring anything but a message of liberty.
All right. Oh, Ed, I believe you also have a personal website that you have, right? Let me just throw it up here for anyone that wants to visit it.
Sure. Yeah.
www.durfee.us. This is like your blog, right? So this is where you have your writing.
Yeah, there's a couple segues off of that where you can see it has my thoughts.
Okay. And I believe you were saying before, for anyone who's watching that wants to actually learn what the Oath Keepers are about, right? Not what the media tells you. Right. I believe you were saying that they can go to oathkeepers.org or something, or
oathkeepers.org is our national website.
Okay.
And that's where you'll find all the information that hasn't changed since we first formed. We haven't changed with the whim. And if you want to see more about our campaign, certainly contractwith37.org.
Yep.
And,
contractwith37.org. It's a very thorough and detailed website that has a lot of information. So I encourage anybody who wants to learn more about your campaign to check out your site, contractwith37.org. All right, Ed, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy the rest of your vacation down the shore. I believe you're coming back when, like next week, right?
Yeah. Next Monday, I'll be back in the saddle, and doing what I can.
All right. So this is like the calm before the storm. When you come back, it's gonna be gonna be
all hands on deck. All hands on deck.
Exactly.
And if you want to volunteer or if you want to help our campaign or volunteer, there's contact information on the website, as well as our donation there. If you wish to help us financially, we certainly are going to be needing financial help to do mailings, etc. So we are.
Okay. So contractwith37.org, people. Okay, Ed, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I will catch up to you when you're back in Bergen County. All right.
All right, Joseph. Ronnie, look forward to working with you.
All right. Bye-bye, Ed. Have a great night.
Right on. Thank you again.
Yep. Okay, folks, that was my interview with Edward Durfee, Mr. Edward P. Durfee, the GOP nominee for State Assembly in District 37. What a great guy. And for all that the media says about the Oath Keepers, I mean, I don't really know the Oath Keepers that well, right? Because I'm not in it. But you should do your own research, right? So go to oathkeepers.org to learn more about what that group is, right? And don't just rely on what the media tells you, because they obviously have a spin, right? And they're not going to tell you the truth. We all know that now. Hence fake news, right? But anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. For all of you that are stuck in this hurricane, I hope you stay safe and stay indoors. Don't go driving at night. It's wet outside. And join us next week as we talk to more interesting and dynamic leaders and guests, right? And I will, of course, keep you updated more on my campaign. It is August, the end of August. I imagine sometime in September, end of September, maybe early October, I'll be having another big fundraiser. I'll keep you guys posted on when or where that is happening, okay? In the meantime, if you want to learn more about my campaign, you can always go to ronaldjosephlin.com. ronaldjosephlin.com. And if you have an interesting story to share, if you want to come on our show, you can always email us at realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/realtalkwithronnie. And of course, you can visit our YouTube channel, which is under the same name. Just search for Real Talk with Ronnie. All right, everybody. It's August 22nd, 2021. This was Real Talk with Ronnie. And I wish you all a very happy rest of your Sunday night and a very happy week. Okay, so good luck. God bless. And I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.